What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name's Jimmy. I'm a real estate agent here in North Carolina and thank you for stopping by. If you're interested in real estate, whether it's buying or selling or any important topics that affect you as a homeowner, please subscribe and like and click all the things because it makes my videos get to more people who have questions about being a homeowner. In today's video, I want to talk about due diligence and earnest money in North Carolina. So you find the house you're looking for, it's been a long time coming, you've submitted your offer and it gets accepted. Congratulations, you are under contract. But what happens after your offer to purchase a home is accepted? There may be many unexpected things that come up, and if you're lucky, it might even be smooth sailing. Either way, as a buyer or a seller, knowing exactly what to expect during this period is going to go a long way for your peace of mind. It's going to actually help you strategically to move through the unknowns of this process and make you help you understand things before they even happen. If you're buying or selling real estate in North Carolina, as soon as both parties sign the contract, you are now in the due diligence period. Now, most states have something similar, but I'd ask your agent to figure out what exactly is going on in your state. Once your offer is accepted, you can now start inspections and any type of repair request that you'd like. This can be a bit overwhelming, especially for first-time home buyers and even seasoned home buyers. So my job as a real estate agent is to help my clients navigate what can be a pretty stressful process. Now, to get through due diligence smoothly, you need to understand exactly what will happen, what money is on the line, when that money is on the line, and what your options are at each stage of this process. The due diligence period in North Carolina is a negotiated period of time in which the buyer has the opportunity to do their due diligence before deciding to move forward with buying that home. For both the buyer and seller, it can be a tense period of a lot of surprises, a lot of decisions to be made, so it needs to be navigated thoroughly. Usually the due diligence period is somewhere between 2 weeks and about a month, and it starts as soon as the contract is signed by both parties. During this time, the buyer will have a professional home inspection. They can have an HVAC inspection, a termite inspection, anything that they want to do to see what's wrong with this home. Unless it's negotiated otherwise, all of the inspections are paid for by the buyer with the exception of the termite inspection in terms of a VA loan, in which the case the buyer cannot pay for that termite inspection in all but 9 states. During due diligence, you can also get an appraisal, a survey, you can review the title documents, HOA covenants. If you haven't seen my video on HOAs, you can click right up here and that'll give you the link to that video. Side note, during the due diligence period, it does not apply to new construction. The due diligence period allows a buyer to discover any type of items that need repair, and they're going to decide what major repairs they will ask the seller's agent to fix before closing. With the help of a good agent, the buyer has a variety of options to negotiate a deal that they are happy with in light of any of the major discoveries that they find during the inspection. One option is to simply have a seller to agree to fix or remedy all the items at their own expense before closing. The other option is to ask for money for a financial concession from the seller for the amount necessary to do all of those necessary repairs. You can also ask in the form of closing costs to help offset those, or you can even ask for a reduction in the purchase price. If either of these options aren't workable for either of the parties, there might be other aspects within the contract that can be negotiated. For example, the sellers may agree to pay a certain amount for repairs for the buyers, but then they have to move up the closing date or maybe even extend the closing date. So what money is actually at stake when you buy a house in North Carolina? When a buyer goes under contract in North Carolina, they will write 2 checks. One of those being the earnest money deposit, which we'll get to in a minute, and the other is the due diligence fee. Now, the thing about fees is that that's something you typically don't get back, and I'll explain that in a second. The due diligence fee is a negotiated amount of money, typically between $500 and $2,000, depending on the purchase price of the home. As a buyer, you want a smaller due diligence fee because if you decide to back out, that is less money that should be at stake if you decide to walk away from the purchase. If you find a home that is a fixer-upper and it's not your ideal home in your ideal area, then you might want to put a smaller due diligence fee because you do want the home, but in case some big issue comes up in the inspection or you find out something happens on the weekends in an area that you're not comfortable with, you can back away and lose a smaller amount of money. On the other hand, if you find a great home, exactly what you're looking for, is checking all the boxes and is in a great neighborhood with great schools, you might want to put a higher due diligence fee on that property because someone might come in and put an even larger one if you decide that you really, really want this property. I just had a contract that I looked over. There was a $10,000 due diligence fee that the buyer put down because they wanted the property that badly. Now, in a multiple offer situation, a larger due diligence fee can make the offer more appealing to the seller by showing that, listen, I have this amount of money and I really, really want this house. That is very, very important. As a seller, you obviously want a higher due diligence fee because if the buyer walks away, that money is yours to keep. The due diligence fee is essentially compensating the seller for taking their home off of the market. You have tens of thousands of people able to look at your home through the multiple listing service. When the due diligence fee check is submitted, the check is cashed right away by the sellers, and if the buyer decides before that 2-week to month period to back out and not move forward with that property, they will walk away, and they can, for any reason, and lose that due diligence fee. If the buyer ultimately decides to buy the home, that due diligence fee gets credited towards the purchase price. So for example, if you buy a house for $200,000 and you put a $5,000 due diligence fee, after all of the miscellaneous expenses come through, at the very end, that $5,000 will be credited back to you off the purchase price. The only instance in which the due diligence fee is refundable is if the seller breaches the contract. So now to the earnest money. The due diligence period is over, the inspections are all in, repairs have been negotiated, and now you are moving towards closing. Way to go. What if you want to back out now? This is where the second check comes in. The earnest money deposit is a negotiated amount of money that is also submitted when the contract is signed. The check is given to an agreed upon escrow agent, typically it's one of the agents involved in the transaction, who deposits it into a trust account until closing. It is usually a much larger amount of money than the due diligence fee, and typically ranges from 1% to 2% of the purchase price of the home. And like the due diligence fee, this deposit protects the seller and helps ensure the buyer is in earnest about buying that property. If a buyer decides before closing, but after that due diligence period, to walk away, and they no longer want to move forward with that property, they will actually lose the due diligence fee and the earnest money deposit. All right guys, thanks for watching. I hope this shed a little bit of light on due diligence and earnest money in North Carolina. It can be a little bit confusing, so if you are deciding to buy or sell, I'd love to help you out. In North Carolina, there are a lot of moving pieces, just like there is in any state when you purchase or sell a home. So I'm never too busy with referral. Send me a comment, send me a like and subscribe, all the things, and I'll see you next video. Thank you. Peace of mind and peace of mind. What's up? What's up? Buyer as the opportunity. So the due diligence, I'm saying so a lot.